We have indicated that we would relay any new information about the impending El Niño Southern Oscillation. Alas, we have new information. Alas, it's not good news. Our latest update included information from the Weather Network on May 8, 2023. Specifically, this line came from NOAA's director of the Tropical Moored Buoy Array Program, Michael McFadden. Quote, "The recent triple-dip La Niña has come to an end. Now that it's over, we are likely seeing the climate change signal coming through loud and clear." End quote. Apparently, the, quote, climate change signal, end quote, was not coming through clearly enough already. The likely ENSO later this year will overcome the opinions of even the most rabid deniers, according to climate reporters and climate scientists. Personally, I have my doubts. From the BBC, in a story published April 25, 2023, comes this headline: "Recent rapid ocean warming ahead of El Niño alarms scientists." According to the lead, quote, "This month, the global sea surface hit a new record high temperature. It has never warmed this much this quickly." End quote. The following line is classic. Quote, "Scientists don't fully understand why this happened." End quote. Perhaps those scientists could read the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's October 8, 2018 report, Global Warming of 1.5 Degrees. According to this report, published more than 4.5 years ago, quote, "These global-level rates of human-driven change far exceed the rates of change driven by geophysical or biosphere forces in the past." End quote. The report then quotes 2 peer-reviewed papers before going on, quote, "Even abrupt geophysical events do not approach current rates of human-driven change." End quote. In other words, the ongoing anthropogenic climate change underlies the fastest rate of environmental change in planetary history. Despite this fact being reported by the IPCC in 2 peer-reviewed articles, quote, "Scientists don't fully understand why this happened." End quote. Specifically, scientists cannot figure out why the darned ocean is warming so quickly. Back to that story published by the BBC. Immediately after the line, quote, "Scientists don't fully understand why this happened," end quote, we are told, quote, "But they worry that, combined with other weather events, the world's temperature could reach a concerning new level by the end of next year." End quote. But enough about the video we released in this space on May 24th of this year. I'll turn to new information, starting with a report from Severe Weather Europe, published on the May 7th, 2023. The story is headlined, "El Niño is now developing rapidly with long-range data already showing a strong event is likely, impacting the fall and winter weather." Here's the extensive lead. Quote, "El Niño is developing rapidly with an official watch current in effect issued by NOAA. A moderate to strong El Niño event is expected to occur with global weather impacts in the second half of the year and over the winter season of 2023/2024. Based on the latest global anomaly data, this El Niño might be something we have never seen before in such an environment." End quote. Let's unpack this latter sentence. First, quote, "This El Niño might be something we have never seen before." End quote. As I've indicated a few times in this space, a 2017 peer-reviewed paper by Professor James Hansen and colleagues indicates we currently occupy the warmest Earth with civilization present. As a result, the conclusion by Severe Weather Europe is exactly correct. We are indeed headed for, quote, "something we have never seen before." End quote. Second, quote, "This El Niño might be something we have never seen before in such an environment." End quote. We have never experienced a warmer planet with civilization present, and therefore with such a strong potential for additional overheating via loss of aerosol masking. If, quote, "such an environment," end quote, means accelerated warming on an already overheated planet, then, again, I agree. We are headed for, quote, "something we have never seen before in such an environment." As I have mentioned previously in this space, we are coming out of a record-setting triple-dip La Niña. In other words, we are transitioning from a period of exceptional cooling to one of exceptional warming. As I have mentioned repeatedly in this space, the rate of environmental change is critically important to the ability of populations and species to adapt. If the rate of environmental change exceeds the ability of organisms to adapt, those organisms will go extinct. As I have also previously mentioned in this space, ongoing and projected rates of environmental change outstrip the ability of vertebrates and mammals to adapt. Both conclusions were and are supported based on peer-reviewed papers going back to 2013. Specifically, a peer-reviewed paper by Quintero and Wiens published on June 26, 2013 in Ecology Letters found that projected rates of environmental change would require rates of niche evolution that are 10,000 times faster than rates typically observed among species. Mammals cannot keep up either, as reported in the prestigious peer-reviewed Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, with a paper by Matt Davis and two other scholars published on October 15, 2018. In other words, again, vertebrates and mammals cannot keep up. Humans are vertebrate mammals. It gets worse. The exceptionally conservative political body known as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change concluded that the ongoing rate of environmental change is the fastest in planetary history. The IPCC reached this conclusion in its October 8, 2018 report, Global Warming of 1.5 Degrees. Specifically, this report included this line, quote, "Even abrupt geophysical events do not approach current rates of human-driven change," end quote. The expected ENSO will accelerate the fastest rate of environmental change in planetary history. Back to that May 7, 2023 report from Severe Weather Europe. Included is this line, quote, "The cold La Nina anomalies quickly broke down over the winter, with warm anomalies emerging in early spring," end quote. Obviously, the report is referring to the North American winter and spring. Winter is behind us. Spring will last another couple of weeks. The report from Severe Weather Europe goes on to report that sea level rise is already well underway, another indication that an El Nino event is off to a strong start. As if additional information is needed, the report also indicated that a subsurface Kelvin wave was growing larger and spreading east and upward in the ocean. That was in April. As the report indicates, quote, "A strong subsurface warm pool is the main precondition to kickstart an El Nino event," end quote. This, quote, "strong subsurface warm pool," end quote, is ongoing. As reported by Severe Weather Europe, the NOAA Climate Prediction Center issued an official El Nino watch. Quote, "This watch continues with the latest outlook giving a greater than 90% chance of an El Nino impacting the next winter season of 2023/2024, end quote. Again, that's next winter in the Northern Hemisphere. As stated in the report by Severe Weather Europe, quote, "Strong warm anomalies are now entering the eastern parts of the ENSO regions, exceeding 4 degrees Celsius, end quote. The Severe Weather Europe report also concludes that warm sea surface temperatures, which indicate the ENSO, are, quote, "the warmest in the past 40 years, and likely even more." And this is with the El Nino just starting to develop, end quote. It refers to the current circumstances as, quote, "a very unique situation with abnormally warm North Pacific, North Atlantic, and the rest of the globe running warmer on average. Usually, there is a larger contrast with the El Nino, but this year, the oceans are already running record warmest without the El Nino properly developed yet." End quote. There you have it. Quote, "The oceans are already running record warmest without the El Nino properly developed yet." End quote. The proper development of the El Nino looms large. Will it be sufficient to destroy habitat for human animals on Earth? We shall see. And soon.